So if you take, for example, the transmission aspects of the CEB, so like I mentioned, now it's the proposed amendment is saying 100%, right? Like 100% state ownership. But I'll just give you an example of how it works in Argentina. So in Argentina, there's about 7 transmission companies, and the largest company that essentially oversees the national grid is a company called Transina. And that company, so what the government did was they gave the national grid to Transina on a 95-year concession contract. So even when they gave it on a 95-year concession contract, it wasn't for a continuous period of 95 years. They actually broke it to about one initial 15-year term, and then after that consecutively 10-year terms. So what happens in that process, Niresh, is that they essentially at the end of each period, so for example, if you take the first 15 years when that company took over, at the end of that 15 years, the concession was re-auctioned via seal bid, and then the incumbent operator would participate. They would retain control of the national grid only if it submitted the highest franchise bid, and if not, they would lose the concession and be compensated with the winning bid amount. So this structure, the way it operates, you can see that actually it is not a question of who owns it, but also it's about how you regulate that asset actually. So if you have the correct type of regulation and the correct contracting, you can actually involve the private sector in without necessarily selling things off. You can do it with a public-private partnership model, and like in the case of Argentina, you have through concession contracts, you can have a private sector entity managing the transmission grid, and on a periodic basis, when there is that incentive for when you know that you have to rebid, you wouldn't do anything in that period that would cause you to not get the bid again, if that makes sense, right? So you wouldn't
run it very well.
Exactly. You wouldn't hold the grid hostage, and all these things that people are very fearful about. It wouldn't really happen, right? Like if the contract is structured well, so obviously for all of this, you need a very good regulator. You need predictability, you need skilled people who will know how to do the contracting. You will need all of that, right? So what I'm essentially trying to say is that there is no need for fear here, right? If we have the proper regulations in place, we can still involve the private sector.